Well, that's actually it's a good lead-in. At first I was like, all right, where are we going to go with this? But it's a good lead-in to what we said we were going to discuss on this show, was the deplatforming of Alex Jones. And, you know, it's kind of interesting because we briefly discussed Alex Jones for some reason, and you just asked me what I thought about him, and we jumped off because we always jump off to another direction, right? So you asked me about Alex Jones, and I just said I think he's dangerous. I think he's dangerous. That's all I said. We didn't go into anything long. Now, the reason why I think Alex Jones is dangerous, and we're going to go deep into Alex Jones right now, and Jimmy Dore and Rogan, because they had a whole hour. Rogan brought Dore on to discuss Alex Jones, and Jimmy Dore doesn't even know who he knows who he is, but he's not on his radar. He doesn't follow. But my problem with Alex Jones is, and why I said he was dangerous is because, again, and I got to be careful with my words here, but he speaks to his minions, right? And a lot of these people are not mentally stable. So they're going to take what he says and they're going to run with it. And that's why it's dangerous. Now, if you let me continue, when I watched Dore and Rogan, they discussed Alex Jones, and I did text you, and you're like, save it. None of them seemed to understand the situation. Like, none of them seemed to grasp what was going on. Why was Alex Jones deplatformed? Why was he taken off Spotify and Apple, basically YouTube, I think, basically all three major ones? Again, we're going to go there. But the reason why, and again, people are not going to understand that, is because he called Sandy Hook, like you said, a fake false flag event, and that the family members who lost their kids were actors. You're really ruining my shot, Lacey. So the reason why I have to be clear about why Rogan and Dore were so far off with their broadcast is what happened with what I don't want to blame Alex Jones, but he's a big part of this, is that he started this. It was a false flag. These family members who lost these kids. Now, again, if you go and investigate Sandy Hook, and you look at these kids, this guy shot with like a high-powered rifle in the face. Just imagine first graders being shot close range with a high-powered semi-automatic gun. Because again, I'm not a gun person, so I have to be. I don't want to piss off the gun people by not saying exactly what it was. So what happened with Alex Jones saying this? His minions started to attack these people, would contact him through Facebook, email, etc. They would start to build websites, claiming that this was a false flag. And they would start to use images of the children, saying that this person is not real, this person is not. Actually putting up the victim's picture of a first grader and saying, this kid's not dead, this kid's an actor, this is a stage event. So this one father, which is the most important part of the story that I'm telling to you, that this is a New York Times article, was once so there's a divorced couple, they're up there in Sandy Hook, Connecticut is where this took place. Divorced couple have a kid. The father is sort of a conspiracy nut himself and he likes to listen to Alex Jones. And, he said, I used to listen to Alex Jones, and I have to be honest. He's like, but now Alex Jones is putting this stuff out there. This is fake. People are going after me, and they're going after the memory of my son. Basically, this guy's son is being attacked every day now. So his son got attacked and shot, and then every day he has to wake up to find out that his son is being attacked again. So you have to understand, these people are like, no, I can't let that happen. It happened once, for real. I'm not going to let it happen every day on the internet. So what he started to do is sue anybody who used the image of his son. He would first contact them, contact their website, whoever put it up, and said, look, I'm going to send you a cease and desist letter. After that, I'm going to sue you for content. Don't put my son's image up on your site, or we're going to court. I'm going to sue you. And then this is what he does every day when he wakes up. He scours the internet to find pictures of his dead son that they're using. And that's why he's dangerous. And that's why he's bad. And that's why he was deplatformed. Now, Joe and Dore sit there and get caught up, and again, with the term, and this is why I don't get so crazy, the term hate speech. they go off in the direction of, well, this hate speech, this is getting out of control, and then there's no nuance to the conversation. We just got to get rid of hate speech. You can't call it hate speech, but the bottom line is you got to decide when you're going to take action. So if I'm Apple, right, and I'm YouTube, and I'm Spotify, and I have these families contacting me, and maybe they've created a movement afoot and said, look, you can't play this guy's pod. Now, half the people we're probably talking to right now don't even know who the background shot is of a crazy person. Half the people that we're talking to probably don't even know who Alex Jones is. They might not even know who Rogan is or Dore. But regardless of that, someone is out there saying that the Sandy Hook event was a fake event, and these were actors, and the kids were actors, and it never happened, and they're coming to take your guns, and So when you're putting up that kind of false information and you're affecting the victims of already a horrific incident, that's the nuance. So both Dore and Rogan sat down to do a YouTube podcast, and both didn't understand and I get it from Rogan has kids, so he can relate to like, hey, you can't do that. I got kids. That's as far as it goes in his head, right? Hey, I got kids. You can't be saying that about kids, And Dore was just like, I don't even follow Alex Jones. I don't even know, what really what he's doing. So that's the story of. What amazes me about our show is that, again, we got lucky. I happened to listen to the podcast. It happened to be a big story for like the last 2 weeks, him being deplatformed. And I think a lot of people either not knowing or not caring. I sent you that clip. I've been sending you stuff now randomly, but and that clip from Facebook about what an intellectual is. And the guy had a great speech, right? And the speech was, an intellectual is someone who takes the time, who needs to know more. It's not the person who's scholarly. It's not the person who went to college. It's not the person who's a doctor or a lawyer. It's the person who's always continuing to need to know. It's the people who don't want to know or don't need to know. You have to have the want to go and need to know why certain things are happening. So,
well, I mean, on that, that's really sort of the foundation of what's sort of wrong in what we would commonly call modern political discourse or whatever. There's these two really general camps of people who, everybody starts with a base opinion or a foundation of whatever their history, their past, their education, or lack thereof, wherever they are. But there's two different camps of people who start with that information. There are some who, when they get new information, their base, their foundation evolves. They keep processing and they keep learning and they keep being, as I understand what you're saying, sort of true intellectuals. But then there are others who have really an on and off switch, and no matter what sort of new information they get, they're swatting it away. Just to, if it disagrees with whatever their foundation is, they're just using whatever they got to push it away, or just collecting bits that agree with them. And no new information, no new knowledge will supplant that. And you and I are different because, not just us, obviously, but we talked about sort of like even our own nonsense, like the quantum theory from our last stream. And we were like, a lot of this stuff with The Secret and number 11, all this, it's crazy. But here's some things that I've experienced, which would seem to have some sort of support. I don't know where it comes from. I don't know what it truly means. But we allow it to exist, and we say we don't really know maybe how it works. We have a couple of theories, but what we don't do is go, I don't believe in any of this nonsense, and I'm just going to completely reject it. So we get new information like other intellectuals, many others that we know, and adopt it. But going back to Alex Jones, there are a lot of people in our movement, not just the alt-right. What we got to remember, there are a lot of progressives who, even though their ideologies differ from the alt-right or these uber conservatives like Alex Jones, they're deeply embedded in these conspiracies. And it's not out of a desire to believe in them, but because of all of their own personal knowledge about government. And, you know, they're always out to get the little guy, and the top 1% are only benefit. So conspiracies have a gateway to a lot of progressives. So you have two camps which fundamentally disagree from an ideological, standpoint, and yet they both have a different entry point to these conspiracies. We have a lot of big names, and you know who I'm talking about, who that's all they talk about are conspiracies. So they're not fringe in the sense of people don't know who they are, but they're fringe in the sense that really no one knows who any of these progressives are, or any of these people on the alt-right, unless you're a national figure. And, a lot of popular voices online, etc., they're only known by other fringe progressives and people in that movement. But a lot of big names that people would perceive as big voices in the progressive movement are just constantly talking about false flags and, geoengineering and all of these things, which a lot of people who don't make any noise whatsoever just go and move on quietly, leaving only this void of loud voices saying things that the vast majority of progressives don't believe. I actually think Alex Jones is the same way. I would believe that the vast majority of Republicans and conservatives and fringe and alt-right don't believe in any of his nonsense. But he has the bigger voice. Or he has a big voice with these fringe movements. And so it becomes an issue of what do you do? And then they get into the topics about free speech, etc.
Well, I thought it was really interesting, and again, they don't cover this, and you may have to check this, but again, we can go back and check it, but I don't know if we can find that this is true, what I'm about to state, but I'm pretty sure it's true. So when Alex Jones was in his custody battle with his ex-wife, he admitted that his show is for entertainment purposes only. So again, when you look at somebody like an Alex Jones, and they pull that card, they pull the pro wrestling card. To me, all his credibility goes out the window, right? He's playing the system. He's playing his viewers. He knows what he does is a form of entertainment. That's why he's taken this strange persona, and you watch it. If you watch him, it's actually very funny. Like, if you would just sit down and watch an episode, like, I don't have any time or interest, but if I sat and watched Alex Jones, I guarantee you, at some point I would burst out laughing.
Well, it's similar to Colbert, right? How he plays this character, but he plays it knowingly, not only but I should preface that, because you know better than I, a lot of people who aren't familiar with that sort of Daily Show satire and irony believed, and probably still believe, but probably less so because he now has this talk show where he no longer plays that character, but they thought he was a real person. They thought Colbert was that character. Both people on the left and on the right. So it wasn't a matter of, oh, you idiot Republicans. It was his presentation never tried to tell the audience, hey, I know you're smart, so I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt. You realize I'm playing a character. But it wasn't until he started branching out and interviewing and doing all these other things, people realized he was acting. But he had to tell people, I'm playing a character. And it literally shocked people. But just briefly, going to your point, here's an article from Time which talks about President Trump's favorite conspiracy theorist is just playing a character. His lawyer says. This is back of April last year. And it just says, InfoWars' Alex Jones' Twitter bio declares that he is fighting for freedom and liberty on the front lines of truth journalism. Despite his penchant for pushing baseless conspiracy theories like Pizzagate and the idea that the Sandy Hook school shooting was a hoax, which I will again highlight that the many progressives support the same Pizzagate and Sandy Hook as a hoax theories. So it's a weakness, a flaw of extremists on both the left and the right, or even just people who are prone to believe.
And I believe that the guy who shot up Comet Ping Pong, I think somebody went in with a gun and shot up the actual pizza place, Comet, said he was inspired by Alex Jones. Again, we'd have to, I believe allegedly, I mean, we'd have to check that. But I believe the guy who went in and shot a shotgun in Comet Ping Pong said, I was inspired by Alex Jones. So anyway, the day that we discussed Alex Jones, I just said he was dangerous. I didn't get into it. I don't know why, because we are always bouncing from topic to topic. But the reason why he's dangerous, and we're going full circle on this, is because many people out there do suffer from mental illness, and when they're hammered with this kind of, and it's intense propaganda. Again, if you don't know Alex Jones, it's intense. I don't know how. Again, I don't know Alex Jones as how many radio stations he broadcast. I don't know his reach. But again, if he's talking to people with mental illness and they hear this, it's a different world where anytime I want, I can go and listen to Alex Jones and get me fired up to go and do something inappropriate, right? So it's not like I have to wait for a certain time every day and turn them on. Anytime I need Alex Jones to sit on my shoulder, go, hey, this Hillary Clinton and this, it is all like, I can't even do Alex Jones. I got to do Hulk Hogan instead. Hey, brother. You want to make a difference? You got to get out there and stop this Hillary Clinton.
Ooh, Sandy Hook, Pizzagate, we're going to mess you up. Yeah.
Yeah, brother. But again, so that's why, you come around full circle to the guy who flies a plane who has mental problems, and you go back to the gun issue with Sandy Hook and Adam Lanza. It does, a lot of it would help if there was, Medicare for all, and people had a better access. I'm not saying, obviously that's not the solution, because look, man, I suffer from all sorts of weird anxiety. It might be hard for people to actually go and talk to a doctor or take the medication or whatever it is. It's not the end all be all, but it's the beginning. Well, it's like, hey, at least everybody has a shot at it,
Well, I mean, something I read a couple days ago, and it's actually in the side of this.
He's a performance artist. That's a clip.
He is a performance artist.
I love it. That's so. I mean, come on. That is such a cop out by this. I mean, that should completely delegitimize him, right? That story alone should have ruined his career. Well, but it just doesn't work like that in America. There's just.
Well, I mean, let me tell you about this other related story, because all of our topics, they do interlink, only because life interlinks.
I'm pretty sure Alex Jones hates performance artists.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, but I would be curious about his past and to see if he's sort of like a
my God, yeah, definitely like an
failed actor or something like that,
or failed radio DJ.
Yeah.
Because that's how Rush Limbaugh got started. Rush Limbaugh, I think, was like a failed DJ and then a radio
or
guy. Or
even someone who started with like immense talent and immense creativity and just got beaten down by life.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I'd love to know his backstory.
Because you look at this, I mean, even in the article that we were on, this touches close to home here.
You gotta pull up his Wikipedia page. Now you got me all like jacked up, juiced up.
But his wife, obviously, his ex-wife, who's obviously in a battle, so you can take this with as much, of a grain of salt as you would like, but she says he's not a stable person. His fiery rants prove he's not a fit parent. But listen to this. She says he broadcasts from home. The children are there.
I know what you're going to say. Yeah,
watching him.
I know what you're going to say. So repeat it again. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that was it.
Yeah, the children are home, and he's flipping out. Like, I mean, I'm only upsetting my dog. My child is.
So I mean, I wonder which came first, the chicken or the egg, the marriage and this sort of.
Got to pull up Wikipedia because I'm like mad at myself because normally I would do what you do, which is due diligence and and do the background check and go, oh, okay, let's figure this guy out.
Yeah.
You know, let's deconstruct this guy. Let's figure out how he went from here to here. And like you said, there's got to be some sort of background where it just wasn't working for him. And then he figured out, oh, here it is. Here's the thing, you know. Here's the niche I found. And you know, you bring up these progressive voices, and nobody. I mean, you want to think nobody cares about Alex Jones that we're talking about now. Most people don't know any of the progressive voices that we're talking about. Their audiences are also minuscule, as is ours. Crazy progressive voices out there. But yeah, that's funny. It's just kind of funny. But I know what you're talking about. There's many people.
Well, it's not new either. I mean, it's not new. People, they don't forget. But you know, you have people like Glenn Beck, and it's the same sort of thing. And you can even go back in the day to remember Morton Downey Jr. and sort of the fighting in the studios and all these different fringe elements, which were so entertaining. Leading up to a Trump character, but Glenn Beck was one of my family. As I've stated before, uber conservative, religious, Fox News watching Republicans, all that sort of stuff. And my brother, at some point, was fixated by Glenn Beck, and sort of the underlying thing you have to keep in mind is that Glenn Beck came out, so to speak, and said, look, I realize the damage that I did to rile people up with conspiracy theories. This is how old now? 10 years old? I don't know. But he was the first. He was a gigantic name on Fox. He helped rein in the era of Fox News. Fox News, as we know it today, is largely responsible because of what Glenn Beck did. And he since has appeared on many different shows lamenting his role in this, lamenting how he would rile people up to conspiracy theories, really pro-nationalist, ultra, patriotic language, and it was hypnotic. And my brother, my family even fell under this, and they were like, check this person out. And I remember, and I'm not I have no need to I could care less. My real reaction to this Glenn Beck character, I didn't know who he was. I was like, this guy sees something's off. Yeah. But right away, but I realized that it wasn't right away to other people, not because I'm smarter or more brilliant. He has a mesmerizing tone, and I got chills down my spine that I go, this person can rile people up. He's now, conservatives hate him now. He's sort of like, oh, it's all a joke. We're all too extremists. But this is Alex Jones and many other people that picked up the mantle. I'm on the Alex Jones site now.
Well, I went to his early life, and he's a college dropout. Then after that matters. He was in community college dropout. Then he started doing a public access television program. Then he gets on the radio, and then he got on the radio real early. So he went from public access. Someone saw an ability, and he went from there. This is his early. I'm trying to see. I'd love to know where he dropped out. It doesn't give his dates. He's born in 1974. Graduated from high school in 1993. Okay, he graduates high school in get this. So he graduates high school in 1993. In 1996, so he's 21. He starts this public access program when he's like right out of high school. And then in 3 years, he switched format to radio, hosting a radio show. He was on the radio at 21 years old.
But
so
what intrigues me about that the most isn't sort of his launching pad into radio and his sort of early days in radio. What always fascinates me is the launching pad for a person's character, the launching pad for someone's ability. The concept of kids scares the hell out of me because they're empty vessels, completely empty vessels. And so garbage in, garbage out. And I hate to put it that way, but that terrifies me the most because one could argue, and I think very eloquently and very intellectually that Alex Jones is a victim of his upbringing, not his parental upbringing, but upbringing in the sense of whatever garbage you put inside your head will come out. So let's look at, before he even touches radio, it says this: Jones was born in 1974. Okay, right there. That is an origin story, because that year, those times, that era, the mood in the national, the sort of the national state of mind plays a part in how people feel. Okay, and whether or not they had access to television and all these different things. But the very year of 1974 is something that creates different people. No different than millennials, no different than Generation X, no different than baby boomers. They come from a period which helps to shape their mind. So go beyond that. 1974. He was born in 1974 in Dallas, Texas. Now, Dallas, Texas, everything's big there. Big guns, big this, big that. It doesn't mean that everybody in Dallas is a gun-toting psychopath. Some of my oldest best friends are from Dallas. But it speaks to people who are less critical in thought, more prone to their environment to sort of become whatever that environment says. So then you get beyond 1974, you get beyond Texas, and he says he grew up in a Dallas suburb of Rockwall in the city of Austin, Texas. His father is a dentist. Dentists make good money. He probably got used to that. And his mother is a homemaker. So he saw sort of that traditional background. All these conservative hints that his parents were conservative. Garbage in, garbage out. Okay? In his video podcast, blah, 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 he comes from an Irish, German, Welsh, and English background. Did he have access to different populations? Did he meet different people of different faiths, of different races, of different, what did he see? And then he goes, and partially Native American descent, right? It says he was a lineman on his high school's football team. That's a character trait. People who are on the football team develop certain characteristics than people who are not on the football team. People who are in chess club develop socially differently than people who are on football teams, unless you sort of break out of those stereotypical forces of us against them. I mean, this is all very important. He graduated from Anderson High School in 1993. As a teenager, he read conservative journalist and conspiracy theorist Gary Allen's anti-Semitic book, None Dare Call It Conspiracy, okay, which had a profound influence on him and which he calls the easiest to read primer on the New World Order. After high school, Jones briefly attended Austin Community College but dropped out. So this is...
He should have read The Secret. See, he picked up the wrong book.
Well, when you see my point, then sort of the negative influences, and at what happens when a teenager reads anything? Does he go, oh, F this? Or does he become influenced? He lives in the
Midwest as well. He's living in Texas, but I think it's interesting to jump ahead because he's on this radio station, right, at a young age. He gets fired because he refuses to broaden his topics, and they were having trouble selling it to advertisers. And then that's 1999. He gets fired, right? He began broadcasting his show by internet connection from his home in the early 2000s. That's 99, 2000. By 2001, his show was syndicated on approximately 100 stations.
Yeah,
that's unreal. I mean, so again, so here's what I would say to you, because I always try to look at it from a different angle. So this guy comes along at the perfect time, right? Normally, he gets fired from this radio station, his career is over. He's at the job going, let me tell you something else about this. He's working at the plasterboard building factory, or he's over at the 7-Eleven. He's somewhere being crazy, right?
Yeah.
But he goes home, he hooks up his internet, he starts to build the show again, and boom, he's syndicated on over 100 radio stations. I'm like, that sounds like I'm drunk. Oh, and that's crazy. So the world changed. The technology, and again, has allowed a lot of this craziness to spread.
Yeah.
And it doesn't go away. It's housed. Anybody can keep all of Alex Jones's crazy podcasts and play them over and over again. So if someone wants to play the Sandy Hook episode that they get off on, that they build their website to harass somebody's father over their dead son who got shot.
Well, Joe Rogan has, like you mentioned, he is. I didn't listen to the podcast, but
right.
The sort of overarching summary, as I believe, please check it out yourself and form your own opinions, because I haven't listened to it, is that he's sort of defending Joe Rogan and on a freedom.
You mean Joe Rogan is defending Alex Jones?
Yeah,
you're saying.
Yeah. From the freedom of speech standpoint.
Right. They got caught up in the hate speech. They were getting in that area. I mean, Joe tries to come off as understanding and like, I get it, but again, they go right back to hate speech and affecting, they didn't understand the backstory. They didn't realize, again, they didn't focus on the minions. They don't focus, and when I say minions, maybe that's a terrible word. They didn't focus on the people who are heavily influenced and go out and take action. And you can't just be making up shit and putting it out there. And they were saying from their side, well, adjudication, sue him. Okay, fine. But if I'm Apple and I'm Spotify and I have a business model, sorry, I can't have you doing that. I can't. I have a conscience as well. I have empathy. I have compassion. If I see something and this is going on, I, as a business person who's running this, have to go, look, I can't have Alex Jones saying this shit on my platform.
See something, say something. No.
Stop it. Stop something.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. But if you want to jump ahead, if you want to stay on this topic, you went from Glenn Beck, you would bring us to Ben Shapiro.
Well, I do want to say something 30 seconds before you
Minions
go in that is it one has to keep in mind the bigger picture here. Because if you're talking about defending defending Alex Jones from a freedom of speech, that does have very, idealistic merits. But we don't. But we do not live in a vacuum, and that's what people. It goes back to your conversation about the Constitution being a fixed document versus a living document. We do not live in a social vacuum, and we cannot understate sort of the changing of the tides here, where you look at the Facebook Senate hearings and you have Mark Zuckerberg testifying on privacy and data and people having access to this. We're living in a world now where prior, the rise of Alex Jones and Glenn Beck and all these people was predicated on no one gives a shit as long as they're making money. Because the acts that Facebook has done just in the last few weeks and months really forces them to lose money, because it gives people more control to remove themselves from data collection and ads. That's their base monetary income. That's their whole money making scheme. And so, but the sort of the changing of the social guard is saying we don't care about that anymore. And so you need to lose money in order for us to feel safer. When you talk about Alex Jones, freedom of speech is a very idealistic viewpoint, but at the same time, the national discourse is now going, look, Facebook created so many wacky people during the election and angered people. Normal people became sadder, more depressed, more vulnerable to attack people, more vulnerable to run people over with their cars, and all these things, and fake news impacting election results and all these things. These are all the arguments. And so now people are going, yeah, we get the intellectual argument about freedom of speech, but this is actually having measurable scientific, social consequences that we really have to stop ignoring. That's where Alex Jones comes in, and his impact on people who are demonstrating their vulnerability, this sort of social illness of depression and sadness and everything else. they're starting to go, there is a greater good. There is a more social good. Even pornography is under that, or was under that sort of, that thing saying, yeah, we ban it because I don't like it, but it does still provide a legal definition of social good, therefore allow it. So we're getting into this battle between these intellectual purists and say, freedom of press, Constitution is fixed. And people going, no, we have to change these documents with the times, and we have to change sort of our outlook on how harmful speech can be on people's actual physical lives.
And because of technology and the way you can organize and the way that the information can spread. And just to make a joke, I find it very interesting when two white guys sit down and discuss what hate speech is. Two white, non-Jewish, non-black, non-minority, talk about, oh, wait, let's be careful with this hate speech. Well, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, white guy.
Right.
Okay, you couldn't be more white, couldn't be less a minority, but okay, well, we won't, God forbid we talk about hate speech. Again, it speaks of two white guys who are older who don't get it, that the power of technology, the power of weapons, be these guns, you do have to modify laws to, oh my God, and you made a great point, and you really fucking saved the day as usual. The other thing I would tell you, always do. I would tell you, if you're confused about the gun issue again and Alex Jones and all that, see a Frontline episode called Gunned Down. It will take you again through the history of gun rights. And when Sandy Hook occurred, these families obviously very distraught. I mean, can you imagine? Your kid, your first grader goes to school, gets shot up. They wanted to do something. So they came and they had brought it together and they got lawyers and they were going to write laws and they were going to do things. They bring this information to the lawyers and the lawyers look at it and go, none of this is going to happen. Like, you're not going to get capacity. You're not going to get an assault rifle ban. There's no way. You're not going to get magazine capacity. There's no way. Maybe we can go for gun loopholes at gun shows and background checks. And when they brought it to the Senate, after trying to bring Joe Manchin in from Virginia, I believe, still got voted down. After, I don't know how many first graders got shot, they still wouldn't change simple background checks and gun loopholes in gun shows. So it was just showing the power of the NRA, and that's why these families are so upset and still upset today. They did make some ground in Connecticut. They eventually decided to just do it on the local level rather than trying to do it on the federal level. Mm-hmm. I think they made more progress in Connecticut. But again, if you want to understand why these families are angry, their first grader got shot in the face, and some guys, and then they're trying to make changes, getting shut down, and they're stunned they're stunned that their kid got shot. Then they're stunned that nobody would take action. Then they got this guy telling everybody in the world that it was a fake event.